this is greater omentum, which is hanging through the greater curvature of the stomach. Previously, we studied the derivatives of ventral mesogastrium. Now we will study the derivatives of dorsal mesogastrium. Okay, so this omentum, greater omentum, is derived from the dorsal mesogastrium. Okay, so this whole is greater omentum. Part of this other parts of ligaments which are derived from the dorsal mesogastrium are gastrophrenic ligament. Gastrophrenic ligament connects the stomach to the diaphragm. Then there is gastrosplenic ligament. This is a spleen. This solid structure is a spleen. This is also connected along the greater curvature with the stomach. See the spleen? You can identify the spleen by its notched border, superior border. So there is a ligament which is present between the stomach and the spleen. Okay, that is gastrosplenic ligament. So the derivatives of dorsal mesogastrium are gastrophrenic ligament, gastrosplenic ligament, and this greater omentum, which is hanging along the greater curvature. The main contents, you can notice blood vessels. Can you see these blood vessels? Okay, and these blood vessels. So these blood vessels are entering between the layers of the greater omentum. Now we will trace the different layers of greater omentum. As the lesser omentum reaches along the lesser curvature, the anterior layer covers the stomach from the anterior aspect and the posterior layer covers the stomach from the posterior aspect. Now both the layers again fuse along the greater curvature. Okay. Now these two layers are descending downwards as first and second layers of greater omentum. Along the free border of the greater omentum, these two layers again fold upon themselves, and now as you can see, while I am lifting the greater omentum, transverse colon is also lifting along with it. Why it is so? Because in adults, the fourth layer of greater omentum fuses with the peritoneum covering the anterior aspect of the transverse colon and also with the anterior layer of the transverse mesocolon, forming gastrocolic ligament. Okay, gastrocolic ligament. So this part of this greater omentum is forming the gastrocolic ligament because it is extending between the stomach and the transverse colon. Okay, so this is because of the fusion of fourth layer of greater omentum with the transverse mesocolon and the layer of peritoneum covering the transverse colon from the anterior aspect. What is the clinical significance of this? So, during any surgeries where we require entry into the lesser sac, we can create an avascular plane between this fourth layer of the greater omentum and the peritoneum covering the transverse colon from the anterior aspect. There are no blood vessels present in this plane, so we can gently dissect this plane, and through these planes we can reach into the lesser sac. Because if you recall, then the second layer and third layer, the cavity enclosed between the second and third layer is the cavity of lesser sac. So through these two layers we can enter into the lesser sac and we can operate behind the stump in the lesser sac. We can also enter the lesser sac through the lesser omentum. We cannot damage these structures, I told you earlier also. So we will move a little lateral to the this hepatoduodenal ligament to preserve these structures, and through this lesser omentum we can reach the lesser sac to operate. So one way is this and the other way is through this plane. So this is and avascular plane to enter the vessel sac. So if we trace, then we trace the fourth layer. So this is the posterior abdominal wall, and you can see that this layer which is covering the transverse colon, and this is the transverse mesocolon through which this transverse colon is hanging. The posterior layer is in the posterior abdominal wall. If we try to dissect this, this is duodenum. Okay, this is the duodenum part. Okay, you can notice this. This is the start of jejunum, and this is the fourth part of duodenum. So this is the third part of duodenum. So the transverse mesocolon is going till this, and then again it is reflecting, covering. See, these are the superior mesenteric vessels. I told you earlier that the folds of mesentery carry neurovascular structures. So you can see the reflection of major blood vessels in this fold of mesentery, which is the mesentery of small intestine. Okay, and then again this mesentery is coming back to the posterior abdominal wall as the left leaf of the mesentery, and then again continuing over the pelvic brim into the pelvic cavity.